Hello, everybody. Come on, let's shout Rochester. My name is Pastor Clay.
You're Pastor Clay.
Thank you. Oh my God. Somebody take this picture right now. Amen. Thank you so much, man. I want to thank Senator for holding that for me. I've never had a senator hold an umbrella for me. God is on my side. I want to welcome everybody here to New Bethel CME Church here today. I want to thank all my members for coming, and I want to thank the community for coming. I want to thank all of the persons who serve the community who are here today. And I want to thank these two great senators for being here today. I'm hyena happy, and I'm elephant glad. And I'm lion proud to host this very important press conference. And it is now my privilege to introduce to some and present to others the distinguished leader of the U.S. Senate, Senator Charles Schumer, who will introduce everyone else. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor.
Thank you, Pastor. No, you don't want it? Oh, fair enough.
Okay. Well, thank you, Pastor Clay. And I want to thank Reverend Julius Clay, the senior pastor at New Bethel CME, for the great job he has done over the last year. This congregation, as usual, rose to the occasion during the pandemic, feeding the hungry, helping those who needed to stay in their homes, dealing with the so many issues that COVID brought upon us, and particularly our poorer and communities of color. And this church was just outstanding. So I'd like to have a round of applause for Pastor Clay and the First Lady, wherever she is. There she is. Okay, we have a great cast here, and you're going to hear from everybody. I'm going to introduce Senator Gillibrand after I speak and save some special words for her. But we have some great new elected officials that are so dynamic in Rochester at the time we need it. We have our great Senator, Samra Brook, where she's here as she is. We have Senator Cooney. Where'd you go?
Right here.
There you are. We have our great Assembly member, Sarah Clark. Now, I didn't see Demond Meeks. See, he is here in spirit.
Yeah, he'll be here soon.
Right, Pastor?
That's right.
There in spirit. You're the spirit man.
That's right.
And our special introduction. We have a new mayor-elect. There's no... I've known Malik. Malik and I shared something in common, many things. But one is we were both elected at age 23.
All right.
Me to the New York State Assembly, and Malik to the school board. And that's when we first met. And I said to him, you've got a great career, stay in politics. And now he has won, and the day after he won, I called him up and I said, you know, we've gotten Rochester a lot of money. I made sure that our local cities and counties got money. It didn't just go, no offense, to Albany, where sometimes they never see it. And I'm going to work with Malik to spend that money. I know he will spend it wisely and make sure Treasury lets you do everything you need. But let's have another hand for Malik Evans. We also have Norman Jones, who is the commissioner for the Department of Environmental Services. Where are you, Norman?
Right behind you.
How did I miss you? We have Sean Dunwoody and Suzanne Mayer of the Hinge Neighbors. Thank you.
We're just going to stand over here.
There you are. And we have Councilman Patterson.
Right here behind
There he is. There he is. In his lovely, what color is that?
you. Yeah, baby.
Huh?
We're going to go with the sun.
Go with the sun. There you go. New York State colors. There you go. Okay, so why are we here? I want to thank everybody because the North Loop project could be one of the most significant steps towards revitalizing Rochester that we have seen since the Inner Loop East was filled in. And I pledge to all of you, I will use my clout as majority leader to get this Inner Loop project funded. Now, we all know that the inner loop is a key transportation artery, but its construction through the heart of Rochester divided this great city, displaced thousands of residents, mainly people of color, increased pollution. The members who go to that church are going to breathe in all the particulate matter that comes out of the cars on the inner loop. We all know our communities in the city have asthma more than anybody else. And it limited economic opportunities in low-income communities and communities of color. So in order to move progress of every kind, social, economic, environmental, and commitments towards justice and equality, we must invest in removing the inner loop north and replacing it with investments that will benefit the residents and neighborhoods upended and displaced by this construction. And then to boot, when we get these hundreds of millions of federal dollars, we want to make the jobs, these new construction jobs, go to the people in the community. We want them to be good paying jobs. We want them to be union jobs. And once people are trained to do these jobs, long after Inner Loop North is finished, they'll have good jobs for the rest of their lives. So that will be another lasting legacy, taking poor people and minimum wage people, and even those who have just gotten out of prison and are looking to start a new life, and training them in these kinds of jobs will be very, very important. So that's why I'm here today. We have a huge opportunity. President Biden has suggested dramatic increases in infrastructure, and that money in the American Jobs Plan can transform neighborhoods and provide the money we need. It took me years. It wasn't until 2012 that I was able to get the money. Remember how long and hard we fought for the Inner Loop East? We can get this one a lot quicker because we got a president who cares about these kinds of things. And we are pushing two things, Senator Gillibrand and I. One, the Reconnecting Communities Act. It says what goes to the top of the list are projects where you can transform neighborhoods, reconnect neighborhoods, undo the damage that was done in the past. So we're very, very high up there on that level. And we also want to create jobs in neighborhoods that need those jobs and have been neglected when it comes to those jobs. And again, our communities here are so important in that regard. As it stands, where's the poster? There. You can see it. You know what the inner loop is? It's a sunken, moat-like physical barrier through the middle of this wonderful city. It's almost a dagger in the heart of the city. It was ranked, listen to this, it was ranked among the worst urban highways in America earlier this year, one of the worst. And it's not only a physical barrier, it's a barrier to economic mobility, a barrier to jobs, a barrier to small business startups, so many different things we need. And neighborhoods like Market View Heights and Lewis Street and Grove Place and Hinge, I never knew what it stood for. What does it stand for?
It's just we want to...
You're the hinge, got it.
No, the community is the hinge, and we're bringing everyone back together. Once we fill in this inner loop and create new life, we're hinging two neighborhoods together.
Hinge.
Well done.
I thought it was, 5 letters. Okay.
Very simple.
And institutions adjacent to the inner loop. The Rochester Public Market, Rochester City School District's World of Inquiry School 858, and churches like New Bethel are going to benefit as well. So this can have so many different benefits for Rochester. While highways like Inner Loop were intended to bolster the city, in reality it upended many communities, especially low-income areas and areas of color. By the time it was completed in 1965, hundreds of buildings were destroyed. Homes, offices, churches, hotels, public buildings, parks, and factories all met the wrecking ball. And now, like a phoenix, we can bring everything back to life. All that harm with the wrecking ball that was done before can be undone. So it's long past due for federal investment. We know how this is. All it took was $16.5 million of a Tiger grant that I was able to get, as I said, in 2012. And it worked. The $16.5 million investment in the Inner Loop East created $230 million worth of new investment into this area. Jobs, housing, opportunity, mobility, much more for the community. What a ratio. And this, I know one of you inquisitive press people will ask. We don't know the exact amount, but it will be significantly more than that 16.5 million. It's going to take a lot more than that. And so you can imagine the multiplier effect if it's even just the same, and it's likely to be more. Okay, the Reconnecting Communities Act, which Senator Gillibrand and I are trying to get passed in this new bill, establishes a grant program that would fit exactly what we need here. So 3 words for this project: jobs, justice, safety. Jobs, because thousands of jobs will be created for people in this community. Justice, because it undoes what used to be done in the 60s, where communities of color and poor communities were downtrodden and not given the help and focus they needed. And safety. It'll be a lot safer. There are a lot more accidents here than there ought to be. So, we're going to keep working on this. We're going to work on this program and the local hire program, which says, and by the way, not just for this program, in the whole infrastructure bill, folks, we hope to have 40% of the new jobs, the tens of millions of new jobs, go to poor people, people of color, people who are on minimum wage, people who only have part-time jobs. It'll be a huge uplifting, not just to build our infrastructure, important as that is, but of human infrastructure, which is so vital. So this is all great news. And one other thing. Once we get the money, guess who's going to be consulted and have a large say in how the project actually works?
Community.
You. Not Washington. You. That's how we've labeled it. Before you get the grant, but then the community has to be engaged and improve what is going to be done and can change it. Is that good news?
Yes.
Great news.
Okay. So, we're going to make this happen, and now I want to turn it over to, we have a lot of speakers who I'll call on in a minute, but first, I want to say I am so delighted to have as a partner in New York, Senator Gillibrand. She combines 2 things. She has a very good heart. When she... Wind, you can blow my thing away all you want. Come back. We need more breeze. Thank you very much, Pastor. She has a good heart. When she sees people suffering, when she sees people who need help, it's not that she has to think about it. She just instinctively wants to run to their aid. But then she has a very good mind, and she's able to take that concern, study it, learn it with her intelligence, which is very, very strong, create the actual help that is needed. So we're all lucky to have her here in the Rochester area, and without further ado, my partner, Senator Kirsten Gillibrand.
Thank you, Chuck.
Maybe I'll hold you.
You can
How
have
about
it.
this? See, I didn't want her to hold it for me.
You don't have to.
But this is okay.
Thanks, Chuck. Well, we could do no better than Senator Schumer as our not only lead senator in this state, but as our majority leader in the U.S. Senate. It is an extraordinary gift to this state, this country, that Senator Schumer is leading us in this majority. Not only does he understand the issues, he understands the urgency. He understands how important these kind of investments are for the country and our state. He understands the people that he represents. He spends more time talking to his constituents than any other elected leader I've ever met. Senator Schumer truly is the champion that our state and our country needs, and we are so, so blessed that he is our majority leader. I also want to recognize everyone standing here behind me, but I'm not going to say everybody's names again because Senator Schumer already did, but I do want to recognize
Told you she was smart.
Our Reverend Dr. Julius Clay, because you are our host and your lovely bride. Thank you guys so much for being here and giving us this opportunity. So I want to just speak very briefly. When the Interloop was built in the 1950s, highways were meant to connect people to jobs and to resources, but in this instance, it cut communities in half. And it made it harder for people to get to jobs, harder for people to get to different parts of the community, and harder to be able to essentially earn their fullest potential and live their greatest potential. There are stories like this all across our state. We have a legacy of the Robert Moses era that's very harsh. Robert Moses had grand designs about how to build highways all across the state, but unfortunately not everybody was at the table back then. And so for our black and brown communities, our lower income communities, none of this infrastructure was built for them. It was built for everyone else. And so unfortunately, we now have this legacy that we have to unwind. And what Senator Schumer has been talking about is legislation to do exactly that. We have two major pieces of legislation, and each one does something unique. One brings resources, a lot of resources right to the community, as Senator Schumer said. The second piece makes sure that the jobs stay in the community, that this community gets the benefit of those investments, and allows for our labor unions to use their apprenticeship programs to train people from the ground up to know how to rebuild this infrastructure and rebuild their community. And then the investment's supposed to go right back into the community. So that's why we're here today, to celebrate all that's possible and what's possible right here in Rochester, because you are leading the state in this kind of investment. And it will make a difference, and the community will benefit and continue to thrive. Thank you all.
Thank you, Kirsten Gillibrand. As I said, we have some great community leaders and elected officials. New blood that is dynamic and strong blood. And at the top of the list of that new blood is Samra Brook of the 55th District. Is this your district?
Yeah, I'm part of it. Hi everyone, thank you for sticking with us on this balmy day. And I'm going to be very brief because I'm melting and you may be too. But you got to think Rochester has to be doing something right to have both of our U.S. senators here with us today. So thank you both, Senators Schumer and Gillibrand, for being with us, for being our voice in D.C., and for amplifying the needs that this community needs. So I'll be very brief because I think all of what we've heard today is that this is about investing in community. I got a chance to talk to a lot of our community leaders that we're looking at right here. And those are the people who are going to be making decisions around where this kind of investment goes. Because it is a new day for those of us in Western New York. We have new leadership at every level, city, county, state, and federal government. But more than just having new leadership, we have leadership that's working together. We have leadership that's building upon each other so that really we are instituting ground-up policies, community-driven change, and investment that will actually help our communities in the decades to come. This is a moment where we have re-centered people when we think about anything from social justice to environmental justice to racial justice to infrastructure. That's how we have policies that actually sustain our communities, that grow our communities where past policies have failed. So again, thank you so much to our majority leader, Senator Schumer and Senator Gillibrand. Excited to work with you more. And we have a dynamic duo in the state Senate. I remember when we had a duo that wasn't so dynamic. Without naming any names. So our new senator from the 56th district, and I think Samra told me you share this area, right? Okay, it's great. Is Jeremy Cooney.
Thank you, leader. I want to say two quick things here today because it's sweltering out here, but I'll take the sun any day. Two things. First, in the New York State Senate, I chair the Upstate Cities Committee. Now, we hear a lot about projects in great upstate cities to the west and to the east, but I want to thank our leader, I want to thank our senator for keeping Rochester, the great city of Rochester, on the map with these types of developments. Number two, I will use every opportunity I have to remind our community that 47% of children in this city live below the federal poverty level. Yes. We have a real problem in this city that has gone long unaddressed. This program, this investment by Leader Schumer, this investment by Senator Gillibrand will help us create those jobs to lift these families out of poverty so that we can break this generational cycle and we can get our city right back on track. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jeremy. That was good.
Thank you, Senator.
Okay, and now as I said, we have an amazing state delegation that understands and has its fingers on the pulse of Rochester and average working folks. And one of those great leaders is Assembly Member Sarah Clark from the 136th.
Thank you. I will also channel my colleague, Assemblyman Damon Meeks, who did have a previous event. I cannot do the TikTok dance he did at School 17, if anyone saw it, but that's okay. He represents part of this. I think we border a bit along the inner loop. I'm just really excited to be here. For many of you who may not know, I worked for Senator Gillibrand for 12 years. I was integral in the Inner Loop East project. And, you know, people in our community kind of get like, oh, another project, another initiative. When they saw what that did and how it changed and how it connected areas that didn't even know they were near each other, well, we need to do the same here. But we knew it was going to be more expensive, and we knew this community might want something different. So what I love about this is we're going to get the money to do it, but we're also going to ask the community, what do you want here? What can we repair? We have been talking about systemic barriers that have divided communities for too long. Now is the time to act. Now is the time to elevate our voices and make sure we're doing it the right way to repair the legacy of the past. I'm so blessed to be here with both senators and really excited to do what we can in the state to support this. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Sarah. And when she worked for Kirsten, I saw what a great job she did, and I was so glad she ran for the Assembly. And I'm also glad I supported her. Okay, now, this is somebody who's special. We're all special, but who's special at this moment because Rochester needs the kind of leadership, desperately needs the kind of leadership that we're going to see from our great council member. That's why he's in this order, because he's not yet elevated, but our great council member who I have tremendous affection and look for working very closely with him when he becomes mayor, God willing, Malik Evans.
Thank you. So let me just say thank you so much. Reverend Clay, you know I'm a preacher's kid, and my father gave me, he used to always say, Malik, they happy to see you get up, but they're even more happy to see you sit your butt down. So I'm going to be quick, and I'm sure you're even more happy for me to sit down in this sweltering heat. So I want to thank Senator Schumer and Gillibrand for being here. Senator Schumer, like he said, is an old friend of mine. He was one of the first phone calls I got last Wednesday, the day after Election Day, and now he's here not even a week. So I think that tells you his commitment to upstate New York. This is a man, if you guys don't know, when he ran for the Senate, they said, oh, he won't visit all 62 counties, and he visited every single one of them, and he has never forgot about Rochester, and I am so grateful.
Every year, I'm up to number 40 this year.
That's right, and I am so grateful for that, and I'm so grateful for Senator Gillibrand as well. I'm just going to say something very briefly. Water, that's a natural occurrence. A cave that might come up, that's a natural occurrence. That inner loop, that wasn't a natural occurrence. And any of you that are students of history need to go read Robert Carroll's book.
Yes.
It's called The Power Broker, about Robert Moses. And it talked about how particularly African American and Latinos were left out of big development projects, and in fact, they would build things in ways to divide the community.
Yes.
So what we are saying here today with this act, with the Reconnecting Communities Act, with the Reconnecting Communities Act is saying, we're saying those days are over and that now we want to reconnect the community. Now I see Mr. Mikhail Powell's back there, and what did I promise you, Mr. Powell? That we were not going to forget about Scioto Street. Remember that? So the two senators are here and you can hold them to that. And look, it's all on camera. We are not going to forget about Scioto Street, but there's one other thing that we need to do. They can't do it alone in Washington. We have to make sure that we also advocate to their colleagues as to why this Reconnecting Communities Act needs to be passed. I know he's got my support, and I'm sure he will have the broader community support. So I am so thankful for our two senators and our other colleagues from state government from being here. Let's reconnect the community, and let's make this area reconnected again, not only for development, but also for the future of our children. So thank you so very much.
Thank you, Malik. Great job. You can see he's a preacher's son. Now, I just want to share with you, maybe you gentlemen of the cloth don't know this, one of the most famous ministers in New York was Reverend Gardner Taylor of the Concord Baptist Church. And he said the 3 B's of good speaking: be brief, be sincere, be seated.
That's right.
You can use Okay, Norman Jones is our last speaker, the commissioner, the city commissioner of environmental. We're all going to take a walk and look at the loop. Norman.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Schumer and Senator Gillibrand. And thank you, Pastor Clay, for hosting us. I'm happy to be here on behalf of Mayor Lovely Warren. I'm also happy to see our senators move forward with this important legislation. Rochester is proof that by removing old, underused highways, we can bridge what divided us, both literally and figuratively. I was here with Senator Schumer back in November of 2014 when we laid the first shovels of dirt into the ground for Interloop East. And by filling in Interloop East, we built a neighborhood. A $22 million public investment generated over $230 million in private investment, including housing, retail, and expansion of our world-class strong museum of play.
Is that 58?
Now we look forward to reconnecting communities, to the Reconnecting Communities Act, to help us create the success again. We're moving forward with our plan to fill in the interloop. Senator Schumer talked about making sure that everybody's involved. We're right now involved with a very aggressive public engagement process where we put in the folks from the Hinge. These folks came to us 3 years ago talking about Hinge and what that meant. So they're engaged, they're part of the process. We just had an open house at Lewis Street last Thursday. We have an open house planned for numerous locations, and we're making sure that all the stakeholders are being heard. So thank you once again. But the last note I want to add is that this initial phase of what we're doing, this study, would not have been possible without the late David Gant giving us $1 million for seed money to get this study going. So David Gant still provides us with some impetus and strength, even in his death. He helps us move forward. So thank you one and all.
Okay, now press, you can follow us. We're going to go take a look at the loop. Let's go.